What is up, boys, for another episode of the Blind Pig Podcast, courtesy of bgobsession.com. This is kind of a special episode, but before we get into that, let's do the old, give us a like, share, and a follow if you've made it this. If you found us on the interwebs, you can also find us on all major audio platforms, all major socials, and of course at the mothership, bgobsession.com. So today, we are roughly, I'm going to go check the countdown. We are 13 days, 18 hours, 28 minutes, and 46 seconds away from the official start of free agency. I think we're that same time, but 11 days away from the legal tampering period, if I'm not mistaken. So this week we are talking free agent offensive targets and possibilities. This isn't just who we would want. This could also be who we think they'll go after, because that generally doesn't align as often as we would probably like it to. So, without further ado, welcome back, Brother Paul, Tony. Been a little while since we've had you guys on. Well, Tony was here last week, but like seeing the boys back in the mix, you know what I'm saying? To see the five squad back as the OGs. So,
yes, sir.
Arguably, John made a good point last week about one of the most important needs was wide receiver, and if I'm not mistaken, John, that was
you mean when John took over the pod? Is that what you're?
Oh! All right. I will not be on any of the draft pods, so you can look forward to that.
Shots fired. But John, you had wide receivers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had wide receivers, and I don't think it's considered to be a super strong wide receiver class. That's what I hear out there on X and other social media platforms. But there's still some pretty good talent available out there. And I think I won't go into what I said last week about the cupboard being so bare, because I think I covered that pretty well. I get the feeling that they're not going to re-sign Debo. I just get that feeling, and he is 30 years old. I like Debo. I hate that we gave up a fifth-round pick to get him, and then we're not going to re-sign him. But it's kind of feeling that way. So some of the guys I'll talk about briefly might be like Debo replacements. I will confess that I looked at almost exclusively young guys, because I just don't believe in bringing. I think we got to get away from this bringing guys in that are 30 and older. The first guy I'm going to talk about quickly is Pierce. Alec Pierce, the Colts' 26-year-old wide receiver. I don't think there's a chance in hell that he's not going to get franchise tagged, because he's just that good. He would probably be my number one guy if he didn't get tagged, but I think the Colts will tag him. He's not quite 26. He's tall, 6'3", 211. It's been a while since we had a guy like that. He is an outside receiver. Former second rounder, very consistent the first 4 seasons in terms of his receptions. And he had 47 receptions in 2025 for over 1,000 yards. So he's actually led the NFL in yards per catch the last 2 seasons in only his third and fourth year, with over, I think he had 22 plus yards in 2024 and 21 plus yards. Anyway, he's a really good wide receiver. He's going to get franchise tagged. But he's just one of those guys that goes up and gets the ball. And I thought this was an incredible stat. 87% of his catches so far have been for a first down in his career. 87%. That's crazy. So anyway, I'm not going to talk about Alec Pierce. Obviously, if we could get him, that'd be great. The other guy I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about is Rashid Shaheed. Try saying that 3 times fast. He got traded to the Seahawks by the Saints mid-season last year, and he actually helped win a couple of big games for the Seahawks down the stretch. Had a really good year, 59 catches. The reason I'm not going to talk about him any more than that is that he's really a better return man than he is a receiver, at least so far. And I think we have some pretty solid return guys already. I mean, it's nice that he can do those things. He's been a Pro Bowler twice as a return man. He has over 1,000 yards returning punts and kickoffs. So that's a real tool in his bag, but I think he's better at that than he is as a wide receiver. So I don't see us going after him. So let's talk about the guys that I do think we'll go after, or we would like to go after. My number one guy that I would like to see us go after is Wan'Dale Robinson. And now you have to think, being on the Giants with new leadership, they're going to want to keep him. However, they've got Malik Neighbors sitting out there who's going to get a mega deal at some point, and so I just don't know how much money they can tie up at wide receiver. So I think there's a possibility that he could be sniped. He is primarily a slot guy, 5'8", 185 pounds, another former second rounder from 2022. And in 3.5 seasons with the Giants, he has 268 catches for 2,500 yards, 9 touchdowns. Doesn't have as good a hands, about 70% reception rate, but certainly adequate. He just turned 25. And the big thing that catches my eye with him is he's had 2 straight seasons of 90-plus receptions, over 1,000 yards last year. And that's hard to find a guy that can do that. And especially with the Giants quarterback, although it's been better recently, that's still really impressive. And he has he's in the 82nd percentile in separation rate, which we talked last week about. Terry's not so great when it comes to separation rate, but Wan'Dale Robinson is. So anyway, I would love to have him. I think he would be a great replacement for Deebo Samuels, a younger, better, more talented player right now than Deebo Samuels, and we'd be hurting a division rival. So it may not be very likely, but that would be my dream guy. The next guy I want to talk about is Romeo Doubs, who probably everyone knows as a Packers receiver. He's an outside receiver primarily, and he's about to turn 26, so he's a young guy. He is got good size. He's over 6'2", former 4th rounder. He has had 320 receptions over the last 4 seasons for 2,500 yards, 63% reception rate, and 21 touchdown catches. So that's kind of the number that jumps out at you. So he is very, very consistent from year to year. He's had 42, 59, 46, and 55 catches, and 23 career touchdowns, I believe. I think it's 23 or 21 anyway. And he is in the top third of the NFL in terms of touchdown per catch. So he makes big plays, and he's very good in the clutch. He does drop more than he probably should, and he also has a couple of concussions in his history. But I would love to have him. I think that's a realistic guy that we can go out and get to be a bookend for Terry. And then the last guy I'm going to talk about is Jauan Jennings, who's with the 49ers. And the reason I like Jennings is when you read his descriptions, he is probably one of the best blocking wide receivers who also can play wide receiver. We got a lot of good blockers who can't actually catch the ball or don't seem to be able to catch the ball very well. But he is one of the most physical blockers. So I think that would appeal to what we think we might do on offense in 2026. He's a very clutch receiver. He played it through I think he had 5 rib fractures in 2025, and he kept playing. He didn't miss hardly any time. Still racked up 55 catches for 700 yards, 9 touchdowns. Very good at contested catches. And it's rumored that the 49ers are not going to try to retain him, that it's just going to be too expensive to retain him. And they got a lot of other guys. I like him because at 6'3" and 212 pounds, he's not a tight end, but he might be a pretty good substitute for not having Zach Ertz out there. So I think that he'd be a big target, and he is a red zone freak. So he is that guy that he's going to be open in the red zone, and he's going to go up and get the ball. And again, I already mentioned how tough he is. So those are my 3 guys that I would love for us to go after. My dream pick: Wan'Dale Robinson, Romeo Doubs, and Jauan Jennings. I know there's other guys out there. People talk about Pickens and Mike Evans and et cetera, but those are the guys that I think I would like to see in.
Yeah, but I think everybody's talking them to death, unfortunately. I actually like hearing some different names. Jauan Jennings, I think we've actually been linked to. A lot of speculation there, I believe, because Adam Peters drafted him in the 7th round back in 2020, or at least he was in the front office when that happened.
Yeah.
And I think he's not coming off his rookie deal, so I think he's already signed a contract. So I don't know if that lessens his cap number than those other guys.
By the way, the cap number, the franchise tag is $29 million for wide receivers, or that's what it's projected to be. So that's why, guys like, Alec Pierce is going to get offered more than that, so they would be getting a discount probably by franchising him. That's why I don't think he's going to be available.
I think it's going to be a crazy offseason for our wide receivers. There's a lot that needs to happen. And I say that, well, I shouldn't say a lot. There's a need of an impact move. I think if you bring in a guy like Jawan Jennings as your number 2, that changes the whole room. Sorry, not to take over.
I want to see I want to see free agent wide receiver, and I want to see us draft one as well.
A draft. What's up, Tony?
I was going to say, I like Jennings, and then also Robinson always plays so well against us, so that's how that's why he's also top of mind too. He's a good player as well.
Well, if that's what we've got for wide receivers, I guess we can move on to another skill position that I think a lot of people think we need to address, or at least upgrade, tight ends. Old Tony, I believe, had tight ends after he knocked Bob off of that ham like a fat kid when he tried to steal it from him.
He had it
What's
first.
Up with the What's up with the tight ends, brother Tony?
Yeah. Well, first, there's Travis Kelce, but obviously if he doesn't retire, he'll stay Chiefs. And then there's Kyle Pitts, but I'm not in the Kyle Pitts business.
Not anymore. Expensive. There's not. Oh, not really? Anymore. News came out. What was that? Yesterday or the day before? Expected to franchise tag him.
Yeah, but either way, other than last year, he always underperforms. There are guys like Noah Fant, Tyler Conklin on the Chargers, Tyler Higbee also on the Rams, and Cade Otton. I kind of like him on the Bucks. Like he's a younger vet, but kind of just like a good all around tight end. There's Okonkwo in the Titans, kind of lost in the Titans because the Titans are always irrelevant. But he's a good pass catching tight end on the younger side as well. A name that we've probably all heard is David Njoku on the Browns. But he's still young. He's a good receiver, and he's one of the more exciting names, but I don't think he'll be like the hugest price tag type dude. And then there's also for if we want to go the older route, there's Dallas Goedert. If we want to go back into the
how old is he now? He's got to be like 35 or something.
He's like 31, 32, so not like old, but approaching towards the end, which sounds weird as a 40-something-year-old. And then there's also Isaiah Likely on the Ravens, but I think he'll probably be a pricier.
I think that's the name everybody's trying to get us to look at.
Yeah,
I'm seeing a lot of names. I'm just on Spot Track.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a lot of names that we've talked about on this podcast.
Who are some of the ones that you saw?
Adam Troutman out of Denver was one that we talked about big when he was getting drafted. Darren Waller, I think we talked about as being a free agent acquisition. Felipe Franks, I talked about him when he was a quarterback. Jelani Woods from the Jets. That was John's draft crush coming out of UVA because he's like 6'8".
UVA. Yeah.
He's still 6'8".
Right?
I don't remember why I had a crush on him other than that then.
Well, because he was coming out of UVA, right? Wasn't he? That's the big kid out of UVA that you would. Mercedes Lewis is on this list at almost 42 years old.
Oh my goodness!
Did you guys see the Zach Ertz news, or at least the social media posting? He's working out and he's expected to be available by week 1.
Oh,
It's crazy.
and yeah.
Who's your favorite, Tony? If we were to target one,
I mean, I kind of do like the Otten out of Tampa Bay. I just feel like he's a good all around player. And then I'm trying to see what they think of Senate. But either way, we need someone with experience in the room. So he's one I like. I also like the guy out of Okonkwo and out of the Titans, just because I feel like he's underutilized there, just due to their quarterback play. I think he'd be more of a weapon here that we could use in the seam. So those are two of the guys that stand out to me. But yeah, in the draft time, I did like Troutman too. So it's interesting that his name has popped up.
I know. I said I was the one that said, let's not talk about the Peter, get distracted and on tangents with Peter's press conference and stuff. But I just wanted to mention one thing, because he did a lot of talking about, like, yeah, we're gonna use the whole, tight end group to fill that gap of if Zach's not ready, and we're gonna. He talked about Bobby Wagner a lot, and I just I broke out in a rash a little bit, because I'm like, maybe we're not gonna. Maybe we're just gonna, ride it out again with the same old, geriatric crew that we had last season. I hope not.
I can't believe that. I believe we have to. We're gonna add somebody, even if.
Oh yeah.
Just by the void of Ertz, like.
Yeah, I just want to overhaul. That's my thing. Is I want to use it. It didn't sound like that's what they were thinking, but who knows?
I mean, otherwise, it's just send it and yank off.
And I mean, I'm looking at like I'm just looking at the screenshot of the tight ends on Spot Track. There's a lot of names out there.
I don't think it would be that big of a challenge to upgrade, right? I mean, let's be honest.
Like, there's a lot of Tyler Higbee. He's a little older. You mentioned Goddard and Njoku.
Yeah, Higbee.
Noah Fant is another guy that there was a lot of expectation of that guy going into Denver.
Yeah. You'd even Taysom Hill's on there.
Right, Taysom Hill's on here. I mean, Robert Tonyan, he had a couple decent. He had some in Green Bay, if I'm not mistaken. And then he went to Kansas City after that. Harrison Bryant was another name we've talked about on this draft. What are you thinking, Bob? How are you feeling about what do you like about the tight end group?
I think Taysom Hill's interesting because he's so versatile. This team needs to get younger. Right. And most of the names we're talking about are on the wrong side of 30.
Yep.
And I just, I don't disagree with John. I still don't believe we actually know what we've got with Senate. But I would love to see them bring somebody in to compete. So that we know that, at the very least, we're getting the best out of Ben. We're getting the best out of whoever we bring in.
Yeah, I'm looking. Isaiah Likely is 25 point. Is under 26. Cade Otton, who Tony was talking about, he's under 27. Some of these other names, Bellinger from the Giants, he's 25. I know of course, it seems like another Giant that seemed to like make plays against us, but not against anybody else.
Yeah.
Well, as long as they can make plays against the Giants.
Right? Yeah. Just return the favor.
That's right. I'll take that.
That's right. So,
yeah. A lot of names.
Anything there, brother Paul, tight end? I know it's like your extension of your offensive line.
Yeah, for sure, eh? The one thing I'll say about tight end, Tony brought up the name David Njoku. I feel like that guy has supposedly been coming to Washington for, it feels like, the past 3 or 4 years, and just never happens, right? I think I would actually fall over if he made his way here. So
that's a good point, yeah.
Well, with that, Paul, I'll go ahead and throw it to you in your class of running backs, if I'm not mistaken. Free agent
Yeah,
RBs on the market.
Sweet.
Right on. Yeah, I had running backs. And I will start by saying congratulations to all the USA hockey fans out there. My heart is still hurting from what transpired at the Olympic gold medal game, but hats off to the Americans. They deserved it. And we'll see you in 4 years and get back at you. But anyways, on to my favorite sport, that being the NFL and football. I'm going to talk about running backs. And I think there are some pretty intriguing free agent running back targets that we can potentially go after to just make our unit an overall more well-rounded running back room. Quite honestly, I'm not going to spend any time talking about Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall. I mean, those are the top names, the explosive running backs with big play potential that are out there. Those guys are going to come with a really hefty price tag, and I honestly just don't think we're going to go after that type of player. I have a few reasons supporting that. In my opinion, I feel like, we got Krosky Merritt on the roster. Yeah, he was a 7th rounder, but the guy produced 800 yards. He had 8 touchdowns. He had that big playability. I think there's still some untapped potential with him, and I think there's still some room for him to grow, and I think they're going to give him opportunities to continue to grow within our offense. Why else I don't think they're going to go after like the Walker type players? Our offensive line is our strongest positional group, in my opinion, and I think that they can just help to raise the overall play of our running back group without having a superstar at the position. And last but not least, I feel like if you're going to go spend a ton of money at running back in free agency, if you listen to all the draft pundits and, you go on all the mock draft forums and whatnot, it looks like there's going to be a guy sitting there at 7 that if we really want to make a swing at the running back position, there's going to be a guy that we can take there in Jeremiah Love. So why allocate those big dollars to running back in free agency when if you want to add a splash player, Love will likely be there for you. So that all being said, I have 3 names that we can potentially target that I think can just make our unit more well-rounded and raise the floor of our running back group. The first one being Kenneth Gainwell. We know that Austin Eckler is not going to be coming back. We need a well-rounded, versatile running back that can serve as a pass catcher, someone that can come in and give us some dependability on third down. So I think Gainwell can be good in that regard. He's a 5-year NFL veteran. He spent most of his time with the Eagles, but last year he really broke out with the Steelers. He was actually voted Steelers team MVP last year. He had 73 receptions. He led their entire team in pass catching, and he also rushed for over 500 yards as well. So, he had a pretty impressive season. What I really like about him is he gives you that versatility. He can fill that third down back role. He can be a consistent pass catcher. He's not just someone that's, you're just going to be dumping a ball off in a pass catching situation. He can run real routes. You can split him out wide. You can motion him. It's in a way we need receivers, and this is a way of potentially adding one who doesn't actually have that wide receiver label. What I also like about him is he's an efficient runner. He averaged 4.7 yards per carry last year with limited touches. So he's proven that he can work really, really well in a platoon. He's not the type of running back that needs like 20 carries in a game to be effective. He can still be impactful, giving him a handful of carries in a game. I like the fact that just because he's, versatile, he gives you that layer of unpredictability. You don't necessarily know what you're going to get as a defense when he's on the field. In some cases with players, it's obvious that if player X is on the field, they're handing the ball off, right? With Gainwell, you don't really know what you're getting. He's thought of as being a pretty good pass blocking running back as well. He is actually graded out as one of the better pass blocking running backs in the NFL. He can also give you some contributions on special teams and contribute as a kick returner if need be. So he gives you a little bit of everything. Ideally, he's the kind of guy I think that if you give the ball to, like, 8 to 12 times in a game, you mix it up with some passes and runs, he can serve as that do-it-all player that can just raise your offense's efficiency in a variety of ways. The second guy I'll spend a little bit of time talking about is Rashad White of the Bucks. So same sort of deal, 4-year NFL veteran. He's got a lot of experience. He's actually started 48 games in his career with Tampa Bay. He was their primary running back in 2023 and 2024. He actually spent a lot of time starting last year as well with Bucky Irving's injury. He's the same sort of deal as Gainwell. He's more of a standout in the receiving department. He's got a 7.1 per catch average for his career in the receiving department. He's never had fewer than 40 catches in a season. His career high was 64 a couple years ago. And since 2023, he's actually top 5 in receiving yards amongst running backs, only trailing the likes of guys like Breece Hall and Alvin Kamara. A couple years ago, he had over 500 yards receiving. That's like unheard of nowadays for the most part for running backs. So same sort of deal. We need that third down pass catching back. He gives you a lot of what Gainwell gives you. So, dual threat, proven durability. He's played a lot in 4 years. He can finish drives for you as well. He's got like 25 touchdowns on his career, 14 rushing, 11 receiving. So he can give you some value inside the red zone. So again, all in all, he profiles like really similarly to a guy like Gainwell in terms of the skill set that he can bring. I personally like Gainwell a lot more because I think he's just way more explosive, a lot faster, and he gives you more of that firepower and juice that they've been talking about wanting to bring to Washington. Like when you hear Dan Quinn talk or you hear Adam Peters talk or whomever. In that regard, I think Gainwell is probably a little bit more dynamic. I'm going to talk about one more guy who's completely different from Rashad White and Kenneth Gainwell, and this is a guy that I'm secretly hoping they do add. I don't know if it's a possibility, but I would certainly love if they added a guy like Tyler Algier from the Falcons. He does have starting experience. He, in his rookie season, ran for over 1,000 yards for the Falcons. He's got a 4.9 yard per carry average in his first year with the Falcons. He converted 53 first downs that year. Since that rookie year, we all know that he was replaced by Bijan Robinson as the primary back. And since then, he's, kind of served in that backup role, but he's surpassed 500 yards rushing each of the last 3 seasons. And last year, he set a career high for touchdowns with 8. So he's a completely different player from the likes of Gainwell and Rashad White. What I really like about Algier is the guy's 225 pounds. He's a big physical bruising back. He gives you that physical workhorse element. And if you hear like Dan Quinn talk, you've heard David Blau talk as well. They're talking about adding some physicality and power and toughness to our run game and to our offense. I think a guy like Algier can certainly check boxes in that regard. He's like that north-south runner. He's going to be that guy that runs between the tackles for you. He's going to provide that power element in the red zone. It's been a while since we've had that in Washington. Like I remember growing up, Gerald Riggs, Steven Davis, like those are some of my favorite backs in Washington. Like those power guys that can just soften the defense and do all that tough interior work between the tackles. I think a guy like Algier can be really good for cross-scheme merit as well. He can soften up that defense, and you can have Bill come in there and spell him and hopefully rip off some of those big gainers as a result. So I kind of want to get back to that steamrolling element where you can just run over a defense, and Algier can give you that. They're talking about having Jaden Daniels also use a lot more play action this year and having Daniels go under center. So Blau's going to bring some of those traditional elements back to our offense. I think that you bring in a physical back like Algier, it's going to force safeties on the defense to move up and come into the box. And that is something like that can hopefully set up a situation where it just makes the play action game more effective for Daniels. So I think he's really good in that regard. And I also think that Algier is just a perfect complement to Krosky Merritt's speed. We've seen many instances in the past where that power and speed running back duo just works really, really well. And there's still a place for that in the modern NFL. I mean, the Lions are doing that with like Montgomery and Gibbs. It's happening in Carolina too with like Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, right? I can certainly live in a world where Algier gives you like 15 to 18 carries a game, and he's that primary back on first and second down. And then you have a guy like Krosky Merritt come in to give you 8 to 10 carries and gives you a little bit of that electricity, right? Other things I like about Algier, I'll try to wrap this up real quick. He's really durable and he's trusted. He's only missed 3 games in his career so far over 4 years. And this is really cool. He's lost 0 fumbles. And not only lost 0 fumbles, but he actually hasn't put the ball on the carpet once in his 4-year career in 670 plus carries. I found that pretty impressive. So I think a guy like Algier is really, really chomping at the bit to prove that he can be a primary option again on first and second down ever since being replaced by Bijan in Atlanta. I think you would be getting a pretty motivated player on a relatively affordable deal. And he's got proven NFL production as well. And he can add that physical edge and that element of ball control that we need to get back to our offense. So he would be my first hope in terms of a guy that you can maybe get on a relatively affordable deal. But, I think he also gives us, again, that physical element that I think they want to maybe add to our offense. So hopefully it comes about, but whatever it is, it is.
I like it, Paul. This is another free agency class. I'm looking at these names. There's some crazy names to think about that are out there that, like, Nick Chubb is injury ridden, but Rico Dowdle, you mentioned in Carolina, that dude backed up Chuba Hubbard and just walked into 235 carries and over 1,000 yards. Travis Etienne, that guy coming out of Clemson was expected to be like an MVP caliber player. Antonio Gibson's going to be a free agent. I'm not saying we need to run back to that well, but at the same time, I mean, that's the kind of juice that you're looking for. Najee Harris, he was supposed to be in Pittsburgh as a bell cow guy. Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, he's on the wrong side of 30. Miles Sanders, AJ Dillon, Alexander Madison, Brian Robinson's going to be a free agent again. Not that I'm not going back to the well, but I'm just saying these are
bring back AG and B Rob.
Right. Khalil Herbert, Damian Pierce, Jarrett Patterson, Ty Chandler, Jaleel McLaughlin out of Denver. I think we saw him firsthand. There's a lot of names out there that are going to be available with guys that have an NFL contribution. You know what I mean? Like, have legitimately been a part of a backfield that's been relatively successful. What do you think, John? Running backs? Who's your favorite?
Well, I guess I was sitting here thinking I should know this, but Rodriguez is a free agent, right?
Yes. Chris Rodriguez is a restricted free agent.
Okay.
McNichols is a unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, I don't think running back is like our biggest problem, but I just have a feeling that we might end up grabbing Love, man. I know we're not talking about the draft, but
it matters. I mean, if that's their plan, it matters.
But I loved I mean, hell, Paul needs to farm himself out as Tyler Algier's agent because he sold me. He got me excited about Tyler Algier.
But
that's exactly like the kind of player that finally gets his chance, and now he's like secure. He's got NFL experience, knows what he can do, and he just comes into a new setting and like becomes something no one thought he could become. So I really like that.
That's kind of that conversation. Like if they go into it, you draft Love and Krasky Merritt takes a back seat and you supplement Love with a guy like Algier, right? Especially if we're going more under center, you're going to want a more imposing force, but running up the guard's ass, that's just kind of what you look for if that's what you're. And then the play action game, the vertical passing game, you need guys crashing down in the middle. So it could fit. Well, not last but not least, Brother Bob had arguably the most popular position in Washington football sports fanhood, the backup quarterback position. I know it seems a little trivial, but I think actually this might be one of the most important positions that we need to be paying attention to this offseason. And we're going to have to sign somebody, I think. I don't know about if Mariota is going to come back, but Bob, I'll let you run away with that.
So it's not flashy, and it's not like anybody was fighting over taking this position this year. But I would remind all of you and all the listeners that when asked about the second most important position on his football team, Joe Gibbs said the backup quarterback. More important than any of the other 21 starters after the starting quarterback was the backup quarterback. I'm going to be really boring and tell you up front that my preference, looking at the list of free agent quarterbacks, I'm just going to be blunt. My preference is that we bring Mariota back. But let's talk about some of the guys that are available. The first tier guys, and that's Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, and I think probably Malik Willis at this point in time are going to be considered kind of the first tier guys. My guess is Rodgers is probably going to end up back at Pittsburgh with his favorite head coach of all time, Mike McCarthy. Those two guys seem destined to go down together yet again. Is kind of my thought process. The Colts are going to be positively stupid if they don't bring Daniel Jones back. They were headed not just for a playoff berth, but a pretty good seed in the playoffs before Jones got hurt, and then it all fell apart. So I think at this point in time, you bring Jones back. Now I don't know whether or not they give Jones a major contract or whether they sign him to another show me deal, but I don't see Jones actually leaving Indianapolis at this point. I sure wouldn't if I were Daniel Jones. And
just for reference, Spotrac has his market value at north of $40 million. That is franchise quarterback starting money.
It is, it absolutely is. And I think somebody looking for a quarterback or looking for a to challenge maybe who their current quarterback is, I don't know, it is going to go after Malik Willis, right? He showed well playing for Green Bay this last year. Granted, a lot of guys could show well playing for Green Bay. But the point is maybe he's finally matured a little bit and he's turned into the guy that some folks thought he was going to be when he came out in the draft. And he could be a starter for somebody that isn't in the top, well, I don't know, 2-1 of the draft and has a shot at the consensus number one quarterback in the draft. So I mean, those are the big hitters that I think are going to go somewhere. Russell Wilson's on this list. I wouldn't touch Russell Wilson with a 10-foot pole at this point in time. I think Russ is done. He was brilliant in Seattle for many years, but he ain't done shit since he left Seattle. And I think Russ is done. And if he were smart, he'd hang it up and ride off into the sunset before he tarnishes his reputation any more than he already has.
Let's wrap.
So outside of Marcus, I've got 2 or 3 guys that I think maybe we would be taking a look at. And I'm looking at these guys as much for what I think Blau is going to do with this offense as anything else. We know we're going to see more under center. My guess is we're going to see more play action. We know we're going to see a more balanced attack. And the 3 guys that I've been looking at fit the description of that more than they're not guys I would have been thinking about if Cliff Kingsbury were still calling the offense, is basically what I'm saying, right? And none of them are guys that would come here with an expectation to start over Jaden Daniels. And I think that's key too. So the first guy on my list is Tyrod Taylor, oddly enough. And, this is another thing I'll bring up here before I really get into it is I think this is one of those places where you throw that we have to get younger as a team out the window. You don't necessarily want a guy that's, 26, 27 backing up your starting quarterback. You want an older guy that may have several years of starting experience, I think, kind of like a Mariota or a Taylor, who's now not necessarily expecting to start. And so the other thing I looked at was guys that have played more recently, right? So Taylor played 6 games last year for the Giants. He started 4. The year before that, he played in 2. He didn't start any, or no, not for the Giants, the Jets rather. So in the last 2 years, he's been in 8 games. He started 4. In 2023, he started 5.
Bob, make sure you call him Tyrod, man, because you say Taylor, you're going to set off like shockwaves.
Oh. Yeah, that's fair. You're right. That's fair. For the record, Taylor Heineke is not on my list of guys to bring back. Just so we're clear up front, he's not a surprise addition at the end. But Taylor's got a history, or Tyrod, pardon me, has a history of
yes, Tyrod.
Yeah, really taking care of the football relatively well. Granted, this last year he threw 5 picks against 5 TDs, but he had almost a 60% completion rate for 779 yards. He's still playing relatively well for a guy that's in his mid 30s. He's also proven to be something of a leader. He did fairly well for the Giants this last year. His starting record was 1-3, but I mean, come on, the Giants had almost as many injuries as we did when you get right down to it. The second guy is
hold on before you move on. He also got jobbed beyond words a couple years ago before Justin Herbert took over in the Chargers.
He did.
He was playing well enough to be a starting quarterback, and then somebody decided to put a needle into his lung in a pregame something, and that's what ended up ultimately opening the door for Herbert to start as a rookie, and he never got another chance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but now that's been quite a while. I mean, that was 2020. 2019. He played 2 seasons. He played 2 seasons with the Chargers, 2019 and 2020.
It was 2020 because he left after that season.
Yeah, he started a game in 2020, and he was doing all right. You're absolutely right. The next name is one that's probably going to surprise people a little bit. He doesn't tick all the boxes because he really didn't play a lot in the last couple of years, and that's Jimmy Garoppolo. But the guy played really. The guy played of the guys on this list. Garoppolo was probably the best as well. I take that back. Number 3, maybe better. But Garoppolo actually had a really solid career as a starter. He was derailed as much by injuries as anything else. And that concerns me less with a backup quarterback than it does almost any other position on the team. I need you to be ready to take whatever snaps it is in this game, and hopefully my quarterback's fine for next game, right? That's really the way I look at this. And when you look at the number of games that most of these guys have played versus the number of games they've started, you can tell that they got in either for mop-up duty or the guy ahead of them got injured at some point in time marginally and started the next week again, right? They just put him in as a safety thing to give the guy a break and not finish a game. But Garoppolo actually had a pretty solid record as a starter for a number of years. I mean, you go back to 2019, he was 13-3 as a starter at San Francisco. That's not bad numbers, right? Lifetime, he's 67.4% passer. 96 TDs to 52 INTs. So that's, what is the rate there? That's almost 2-1, right? Just about 2-1, which isn't shabby. I would totally take that in my backup quarterback. He's still under 35. He's like 34 and a half or something. He'll, So, I mean, he won't turn 35 until the very end of this season. Garoppolo would be a great guy to bring in if we can't bring Mariota back.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
love that.
and then guy number 3, I'm going to shock the crap out of everybody. Carson
Don't
Wentz.
take him. Oh, no.
I
No,
wonder-
yeah, totally serious. Totally serious. And here's the thing. Carson Wentz didn't play behind this offensive line when he was here 4 or 5 years ago.
John
And
just
John
quit
Lawrence.
the chat.
Yeah.
He did just quit the chat.
Did he quit because I brought up Carson Wentz, or did he
Yeah,
get
you
kicked out?
upset John so much.
John, did you quit because I brought up Wentz?
Well, I just needed a moment.
You needed a moment. You know, hear me out. I knew this was going to get a rise out of somebody. I just expected it to be Derek, not John.
Carson
Wentz didn't play in this style of an offense. You know, we asked Carson Wentz to drop back and throw the football 40 times a game behind an offensive line that couldn't pass protect against me. And I'm pretty lousy at rushing the passer, especially at my age and all of, I don't know what, $175 is what I think I weighed this morning when I stepped on the scale. You know, Wentz, he did all right this year in Minnesota, right? He started 5 games. Granted, he went 2 for 3, but Minnesota had some other stuff going on. 65.1% completion rate for 1,200 yards. He had 6 TDs, 5 INTs. That's an issue. But he's a guy that's proven that in a play action offense, he's actually not terribly shabby, and he's going to have time behind this offensive line.
A play action vertical offense, which is what we're expecting. Stretch the field offense.
Exactly. He still has the arm to play that game. He can still drop a dime on somebody at distance. And he's as much as we all hated watching him play several years ago, this would be a completely different team that he'd be playing on in a completely different offense than he was asked to play with. Honestly, as much as his play frustrated me when he was here last, his professionalism, I thought, was next to, was brilliant. The guy was a great teammate for everybody here, as best I could tell at the time. And I'm not saying that he's not my top choice at this point in time. My top choice is still to bring Marcus Mariota back. And I firmly believe we've got a shot at that because Cliff Kingsbury isn't calling plays somewhere. Cliff went to L.A. as an offensive assistant, but he is not a play caller. And they are not going to run Kingsbury's offense. They're going to run McVay's offense.
McVay's offense.
They're going to run McVay's offense. Now, to be fair, the Rams are in the market for a backup quarterback. I did go look at that, right? Their top backup quarterback is actually on this season's free agent list. So whether they bring him back or not, where was he? Jimmy Garoppolo was their backup quarterback this last year. And my guess is they probably want Garoppolo back. I would, but other names on this list, Joe Flacco's 41. I guess maybe there's a possibility there. He did all right for Cincinnati. I looked at Kenny Pickett. He's only 27. My guess is Kenny still actually wants to start somewhere. He probably still has delusions of actually breaking into the NFL as a starter someplace. But he couldn't make it on a Raider team that didn't have a quarterback. I mean, they didn't have anybody behind him.
Good point.
He's not very good.
Right.
That's a good
So
point.
All due respect to Mark,
I'm
who loves Kenny Pickett. He's not very good.
Trey Lance is on this list. I don't see us bringing Trey Lance in. He's going to be 26 when training camp opens. He'll be 26. That'd be cool. But what does he give us in the backup position if he's not actually playing? And the answer is nothing. There's no real starting experience there. He's never gotten a chance at an extended run, so he's not going to be any help to Jaden Daniels at all. I want a guy that's got several years of starting experience who can continue to talk to my, second round or number 2 draft pick from 2 years ago, who really didn't get a half season in his second year and still be a positive influence. So I still feel like Marcus is probably the best guy on this list, but I wouldn't be terribly upset with either Tyrod, Jimmy, or Carson. John? Go ahead. Come on, man. You're thinking it.
The banner.
What he said. See, this isn't fair. John's got a billboard. John's got a billboard on the freeway. Well, the rest of us are just stuck here.
Oh,
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I just thought like Wentz totally lost. I mean, I know he rebounded from that, but he just lost his confidence so badly when he was in Washington. Like
he did.
I mean, my God. I mean, he did everything, but he didn't throw up on himself during the game. But it was, I don't know.
Look,
I really like the Garoppolo idea. I can't remember who was the second one you said. Oh, and Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod Taylor's always played out. I always feel like he's exceeded expectations wherever he's been. You know,
he just kind of shows up and plays football. Yeah,
he does his job.
So I'd be good with either of those guys.
Look, Bob, I'm not gonna hammer you on the Carson Wentz thing. It is curious because he has a dynamic. We're talking about a backup quarterback here. We're not talking about somebody that if you have it your way, he doesn't take a single snap. Like
correct.
But there's importance behind it. I don't think Kenny Pickett is a viable option because I don't think he's got the arm talent.
Yeah, he sucks.
To, you know what I mean, to fit the offense. Like at that point, you just keep Hartman. Like, not to sound terrible, right? Like
also sucks.
If you're just keeping a guy that's got pretty hair and with lacking arm talent, we've got one of those guys here.
Yeah, we've already got one of those.
But
if we want a guy with great hair and no arm talent, we bring Taylor Heineke back, and we already know that everybody would love that.
But, I don't hate the idea of Carson Wentz because you're bringing Carson Wentz in as almost like that. Like, let me show you how to be an NFL player in an offense that I know how to run. Right? Like, you're not bringing in, and if he ever touches the field, I mean, we were signing guys off the street this past season. You know what I mean?
We were.
So
two of those guys are on this list.
I don't know.
Josh Johnson and Driscoll are both on the
and
list.
Jeff Driscoll, yeah, both of which have like no comps or no expected annual market value or any of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I love the Tyrod Taylor look. I like that dude is just a baller. I've rooted hard for that guy since he came out of Tech because it always seemed like every time he had a chance at something, something happened. And I don't know, the Jimmy G thing. I love the idea behind it, but maybe it's scar tissue, but I guarantee you there would be people on our board asking if Jimmy Garoppolo would be a better starting option.
My concern with Garoppolo, and I may be wrong, this may be just an impression that I've got, is that since the multiple shoulder injuries he's had, he doesn't have the same arm strength that he had, when he quarterbacked the 49ers to 13-3, and he may not be able to play that vertical passing game as well as we'd like a backup quarterback to play. That's my real hang up there. I don't have that hang up with Wentz, and I don't have that hang up with Tyrod Taylor, either one. But oddly enough, I'm going to pick between the three. I probably want Garoppolo.
We like Mariota, but Mariota was not a difference-making quarterback last year when Jaden went down, and that's not his fault. But I'm just saying, if you're asking your backup to play more than a couple of games, your season's probably going in the shitter at that point. So I'm more interested in the guy who can confidently run the offense, can make all the
just get
basic
you through
plays, not screw it up, give us a chance to win.
Yeah,
so
when Jaden breaks a run outside and goes down a little awkward on the sideline, and you get that one or two series that he's got to figure himself out. Like, who's the guy that's not going to throw up on himself?
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
and I thought about this when I was looking at these guys. We kind of talk about it every now and again a little bit, but I think there is no greater talent gap in any sport on average from starters to backups than there is in the NFL at the quarterback position. I don't care what sport you're looking at, what position you're looking at in those sports. I don't think there's a bigger talent gap anywhere than between starter and backup than there. They're just, I mean, you know, you look at the NFL every year and how many, there are guys that aren't legitimate starting quarterbacks in this league that start the entire season for their teams because there aren't 32 legitimate starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, I was
about to say that,
Bob.
Bob. I was about to say there's only you can go from the top 15 to from 15 to 30, not even backup, but from the 15th to the 30th guy.
Exactly, and which is why, given my druthers, I'll take Mariota back at this point in time over just about anybody else, because I think he's got the gravitas to be enough of a leader. Was he a difference maker? No, John, but as a general rule of thumb, your backup quarterback's never going to be a difference maker in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he's good enough to win games though when everything else is not screwed
yes, and that's my point.
Yeah.
You know, if we progress the defense the way we're hoping we will progress the defense with Durante as the DC, and you know whatever talent we bring in the offseason. I mean, a couple of those games, Mariota actually had a chance at winning if the defense didn't, you know, shit the bed, to be completely blunt about it.
I think what you're trying to say is Mariota a starting quarterback? No. Is he a liability? No. He's not gonna. How many quarterbacks come in and you look at and like that? We have to hide this guy and we need to make plays in spite of this guy to try to win a football. Mariota's not that guy. I was at that Denver game last year. It was a hell of a football game against a really good defense.
Yeah.
No, and Mariota played fantastically well. He was part of the reason we were in that game.
And went into into overtime.
Right.
Not to belabor the point, but I think the other thing which we didn't really talk about is you don't want a radically different style quarterback as your backup.
Correct.
Because and especially with David Blau, you don't want him having to like come up with a totally different group of plays, you know, because the guy that is replacing Jaden can't do Jaden things. Like Mariota can do Jaden things.
Yes.
And that's
a good point.
And that, to your point, Bob, that might be in our favor is that if he goes to follow Cliff, he's not going into an offense, but if he stays here, he is staying with his quarterback's coach.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so he might not be that quick to leave, and he might say, well, why would I want to go there and have to learn a new offense when I can stay here and might have to learn a new offense, but at least the voice is the same.
The biggest knock, and we you know, we've only talked money a little bit tonight. The biggest knock is that Mariota will probably command more money than any one of the other three guys. I mean, Carson Wentz played on a $1.5 million contract in Minnesota this last year.
Yeah, prove it deal that he didn't prove it.
You know, Garoppolo played on a $3 million contract in Vegas, not Vegas, with the Rams. Dude, I take Garoppolo on $3 million to back up Jaden Daniels and give me some extra cap space for the defense. Totally take that. But you know, there's something to be said for the known quantity, and Marcus is a known quantity in the building.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job, Bob.
What do you thinking, Paul? I know you've got some opinions on a backup quarterback.
Ultimately, I don't want to see our backup quarterback hitting the field this year. That's what it comes down to. 2025 was way too little of Jaden Daniels, and we just need him to return to the electric player that he was in his rookie year, because that ultimately determines the fate of this franchise. We're in a pickle if, you know, this was already mentioned, but if we're depending on that backup quarterback, we're in a pickle.
Did Did any of you guys see Keim's interview with Jaden Daniels' personal quarterback coach? I think his name is Ryan Porter.
Yeah, did you hear about that?
Yeah.
I thought it was a fascinating interview. And I mean, Ryan's been with Jaden in some way, shape, or form since he was like 11 years old. And
wow.
Jaden goes and works with him every offseason. And some of the, a lot of quarterbacks work with this guy, but Jaden's been with him for quite a while. And the guy sounded totally nonplussed by the idea of Jaden lining up under center. He's like, look, we've been working with him on footwork since he was 11 years old. This is not a brilliant athlete that got sucked into a spread offense in college because they needed a great athlete who never learned quarterback fundamentals. He absolutely knows the fundamentals, and he's going to be great. The other thing he said that caught my attention was every second year Daniels has had anywhere, his second year in high school, his second year in college, now his second year in the NFL, have all been down years. And he has always rebounded huge after those down years.
Bob, the most interesting part of that whole interaction was Mama Bear jumped in on X and said, basically told him to shut up, that he's not Jaden's quarterback coach, and that he needs to keep his mouth shut about her son. And I think Keim, that's one of the few times I've ever seen Keim kind of get caught, because he had it just the way he had it labeled. I felt bad for him, but
and then what was even weirder is that, like, there's apparently video evidence now with he was working out with this guy as recent as the 2024 offseason. So like it's turned into a whole thing now that everybody's all losing their mind about.
Yeah, I think there's got to be there's something had to happen there in the background. But anyway, not to take away from the points. I'm sure.
No.
Sure.
And I didn't see that. X decided that my account was doing funny things and suspended me last week. I just got reinstated today, so I have no clue what was going on with that. But because I never
the beard, Bob. It's the beard. When your phone recognizes you, it like freaked out. It thought there was something wrong.
I do not have facial recognition set up on my phone. You can't open it with my face. But yeah, Jaden's mom worries me. That's a topic for another day.
Mama Bear, man. I don't mind it.
Well, she's also his hired representative. It's not like she's just doing
agent,
it,
right? I mean,
like if that was his hired agent that he wasn't related to talking about it, nobody would have a problem with it. I don't think she's done anything that would be out of the realm of what the agent would do.
No, and maybe that's fair, but I will tell you this: if I were an athlete, I want my agent to manage my contract, and when shit like this hits the media, I want my agent to ignore it. I'm going to ignore it. Yeah. We're just not going to comment at all, ever.
Yeah. I don't think that was the agent and her talking. That was Mama Bear.
That was Mama.
That was Mama Bear saying, I don't want to hear this guy talking about my son because for whatever reason. Who knows?
She doesn't seem to want to hear anybody talk about her son.
Hey,
I mean, I think, and it's not going to happen tonight. We don't need to debate it tonight. And I even mentioned this on the board. I think there is a conversation of whether or not you think your mom should be your agent. There's something to be said about somebody that's emotionally disconnected in making those decisions, but that's a whole different conversation. And you might not it might not be wrong to believe that that's not right. I just don't know that she crossed any lines. It might be, I don't think she would. I don't know. I didn't think that it was that big of a deal, but a couple news and notes, boys, around the NFL real quick. I don't know if you guys saw today, the Bears have allowed Tremaine Edmonds to seek a trade. That could be an interesting conversation. Obviously at home, Washington is, John just put the banner up. We need to re-sign Tunsil. They're at the combine now. I think the combine actually starts doing workouts tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of things going on. So that needs to happen like yesterday. Get that thing done. Don't let that linger. Why even wait? Trent Williams apparently is upset with San Francisco, which might throw a wrench into the Tunsil thing, because now if he's going to hit the open market, that's going to reset the tackle position. as arguably one of the best to ever touch the field. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on right now. There's a lot of things that hopefully questions get answered between now and next time we boot this thing up next Wednesday when we start talking about the defense. So you guys got any closing notes, anything you want to mention before we sign this thing off? Don't everybody talk at once.
I think we're good.
All right, boys.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, as always, cheers to you. If you're new here, raise a glass, get yourself a drink, come hang out with the boys as we talk football. We're available on all major audio platforms, of course, on all major socials at the mothership, bgobsession.com, and the pigs are out.